So, in the practice of doing whatever I want to talk about why we fear our desires. Why do we feel shame in our desires? Why do we conflate guilt and shame and the pursuit all together into one? I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with their desires for many reasons. And one of the first ones is the fact that it may not be socially acceptable because it's not normal, right? The idea of wanting to be a star is socially acceptable because there's a normal emphasis on being a star, a celebrity in our culture. In some cultures, there isn't. In some cultures, it's impolite to stand out. They view ambition as rude, right? Which is very weird. But it's weird to me because of the culture that I've grown up in. I can't speak for those cultures, but when you start to become or start the pursuit of those desires, it can feel incongruent with the reality around you, which will make you feel uncomfortable and also other people uncomfortable. And there's a certain sense of guilt in that. I had it earlier. What was it? Let me see. I wrote it down. There's a sense of guilt through, it's not who you are. You're not a bad person. Here it is. Guilt is a feeling about an action. Shame is a feeling about who you are. So if guilt is being expressed and you conflate it with shame, then you think that the action is an attribute or a trait of who you are. I have a few notes. So I opened with, in the practice of doing whatever I want, I have some notes. I wanted to go through this idea and really capture it. And this may be like I said in the video about leadership, this may be a way that I conduct these videos. If guilt is a feeling about an action and shame is a feeling about who you are, then we'll conflate those desires with our character, and you'll suppress the desire because you'll think that it is a reflection of who you are. But the desire is a reflection of who you are. You shouldn't feel guilt or shame about that, because the desire comes from somewhere. I think everybody has a purpose, like I've said, pursuing your God-given purpose and your identity. And in the pursuit of that purpose, you are going to be different. There is going to be there's going to be different traits about you if you really lean into your purpose. You and I are not going to be the same. No, we're not going to end up in the same metaphorical box, if you will, of the types of people we are. And I hope not, because if we do, then either you're copying me or I'm copying you, which isn't good, because that's not a true expression of identity. And then we have the philosophical tension of it, where we struggle with the idea that we aren't in control of what we want, right? So that purpose, if the purpose is you think, like, we have our talents. Each of us have our talents. And if you are being told to, like the child that is told to be a doctor, they don't desire to be a doctor. The desire comes from the subconscious. And if you feel one way or another about not being a doctor because everybody around you has told you to be a doctor, you need to be a doctor, this is what's expected of you, then you're going to feel a lot of shame about that. You're going to feel very guilty, and you're going to suppress that desire. So it's external influences, which is kind of like what we were talking about last night about the I am and the order of operations of how you conduct your life. That you, and in a way, there you could be, there's like I do and I am. Like, I do this type of work, but I am this type of person, and those may not be congruent. You're not going to feel very good about that. I wouldn't. I haven't for a long time when living in that dichotomy. And that's like a paradigm shift. Shifting into running this channel, shifting into the other pursuits that I have. These are the I am things, like, and they are my desires. And instead of following the status quo of what I should do, I'm following the what I am desire path. When I think about that, it's a buck in the trend of, like, day-to-day decency, in a sense. Because I'm kind of putting it all on the line, as would you be. Because everything and everyone around you are telling you that you shouldn't do that, then it makes you uncomfortable because of the lack of belief through others. And if you're easily persuaded, depending on how suggestible of a person you are, then you're going to listen to those things and you won't do it. But you'll still have those desires, right? So why are we uncomfortable with our desires? Why do we fear our desires? Because they will position us out of the group. And when we position ourselves separate from the group, then there's a total commitment to that pursuit. If not, then you have to come back to the group and say, oh, I failed, I fucked up, I shouldn't have done that, right? And that positions you as a quitter, you know? Like, never let, it's okay to make mistakes, just never let people see you quit. Never let yourself see you quit. One moment, let me change this. The background change on the computer kind of fucked up my mood, I'm not gonna lie. But if you let people see you quit, then you then have to admit defeat, and that you are not the person that you desire to be, which that's an uncomfortable truth for you to sit with, because you gave up. Knowing that you could be, you gave up. Or because you had taken that failure data point, and instead of adjusting yourself and adapting to that failure and trying again, you just quit. So you lack that commitment to yourself, and then you have to hopefully be accepted back into the in-group. But the in-group isn't the in-group. It's just it's the flock of sheep. That's not to be insulting, but if we're being honest, that's what it is. And a lot of people are very kind to a fault, where they would be taken advantage of and be seen as foolish because of how kind they are. Because they don't have that backbone that is going to hold themselves and the people around them accountable. And not only do you have to hold yourself accountable, you have to hold other people accountable and correct their behavior about how they're going to act around you. And you have to be disconnected from whether or not those people stay in your life. That way you can enforce that backbone. If you just let people go and do and treat you as they please, then you become whatever they want you to be, and you surround yourself with the desires of others. Because if they're motivated by their desires, then you're going to be influenced and molded by their desires of what they want to involve themselves in, who they see you to be, what they want you to be, and so on. And with that kindness, a lot of people, think of themselves as selfless. But to desire something is to admit that you want something. And admitting that selflessness, admitting that desire is like admitting that you're not selfless. I just want the best for everybody. You can want the best for everybody and be kind without being, a piece of Play-Doh. I think, let me look at my notes. And with the idea, the fear of rejection, with the in-group thing, the fear of branching out and not being like everybody else and pursuing your desires, being afraid of not being invited back into that group. You may not, be hanging out with a bunch of addicts. You may, I want to get clean. You may fear losing those people and being rejected from that group because those are your people. But they're really not, because your desire is to not be an addict, to get clean. And so those are not your people. Because they don't, if you're afraid that they will reject you, then you don't have the confidence in that group, because there is no structure and backbone to who they are, which is why you're afraid that they would reject you, because they wouldn't just be happy for you being clean and maybe be inspired by your excellence and your motivations to do the same for themselves. And you're afraid that you won't be able to go back to that group, or that you may not get along anymore. The fear of rejection from, we're humans. We have these biological hardwiring of, who we are, what makes us, and we're very tribal. I mean, look at football. Football is tribalism at its core. You have your teams, and everybody's like, oh, my team. It's just fucking tribalism. And then it's like warrior culture at the same time, but like light-hearted warrior culture, where they're not killing each other, they're just, effectively fighting over territory. That's all it is. It's basically war. It's tribalism and war mixed together with a ball. That's what football is. So, what was the point in saying that? Oh, our hardwired motivations within us. If we're afraid of being rejected from the group, we're social And we survived through the group, right? We used to survive through the village. And it was our duty, at least as men, to protect and provide for the village. So, if we didn't protect and provide for the village, we were useless. But if we desired to be more than the village, and we went out on that journey to try to explore other things, and realized that that we're not doing so well. You only admit defeat when you die. Every other defeat is psychological. But in the tribal village sense of like hunter-gatherer shit, when you stray from the group, you may not be accepted back into the village. That's like the hardwired coding in us as humans. So having that fear of not being accepted back in is just like this, what do they call it? An instinctual thing. And you have the should we do this thing, right? Should we go for that? We could, but should we? And we get tripped up on that because like we don't necessarily need the village anymore in modern times. So that's a luxury that we have now, that you would like the village, but you could also just create your own village. And that's based on, are you a leader? Can you lead a village? Can you structure the systems? Should you? Right? Yeah, fuck it. Might as well. That's the luxury that you have now. You will, especially through the systems that we have in place, there will be people that organize around you. It's just whether or not you can be an effective leader and if you're actually going to stick to the pursuit. I think I want to come back to this topic. Let me look at I think my notes were very slim. There's not much more there. So if we pursue those desires, we're overcoming that fear. And I think fear is the cutting edge of what it means to be alive. It's just, can you get past the fear of rejection? Can you get past the fear of guilt and shame? Or can you get past the emotions of guilt and shame? Can you disconnect guilt and shame from those desires? Is it okay for you to be ambitious? Give yourself the permission to be ambitious. It's not rude. It's only rude to people I perceive as rude. It's probably only rude to them because they're not doing what they want to as well. And they would rather have their simple, happy life, And the real question is are you happy? Are you happy with the life that you're leading? And if you are happy with the life you're leading, then good. Like you're right where you need to be. But if you're not happy with the life that you're leading, you're not doing the things that you want to do, then switch it up. Pursue those desires. I'm having more fun working effectively 2 and 3 extra jobs outside of my primary because they're giving me purpose and they're crafting the person that I'm to become. The work doesn't feel like work. The work it's a pleasure because it is the journey. It's not about the destination. It is about the destination. The destination is the inspiration. But what really molds the character is the journey and the path, the things that are overcome. But like I said, well, I think we'll come back to this topic at a later date. I like how this went, but I'm not sure I fully communicated the ideas that I wanted to communicate. I find myself, whenever I have these conversations with myself and I work through these ideas, that I'm not jogging my brain the way I want to be. That there's a certain flow state that I can get into, and I do get into that flow state, but with the addition of conversation with someone rather than with myself, I get to pull from somewhere else. It's like the aether, like it flows through me when I'm in conversation with someone versus by myself. So I may try another couple ideas and see where that can take me. But I think this is a good one. Don't fear your desires, pursue them, and be okay with standing out and doing the thing that's not being done. You know, I'm sure you'll be a lot happier than just being the doctor because they told you to be. That you'll be who you want to be. Follow your inner locus. Be self-propelled and motivated, not having a outward locus where you're motivated and propelled by what others think. Because then and don't be outcome dependent either. That no matter what happens, you're okay with it. Because you're not outcome dependent, you're self-reliant, which is a lot cooler. Is if the outcomes don't happen the way that you want them to happen, then you feel like life is ruined. But if you're not outcome dependent, then you get to just enjoy the path, right? You thought the road was going to be straight. You're going to find out it's real curvy and there's a bunch of rocks in the way. The bridge is out. You got to find a new way around it. But you're upset because the bridge is out. You just quit. You say, oh, the bridge is out. You just sit there. Don't do that. Find a way around it. There is a way, for sure. There absolutely is. I think that's going to be it for tonight. I hope you guys have a good rest of the night. And enjoy yourselves. Have a good week. And consider those desires. Pursue them. Tell me about it in the comments. What are you pursuing right now? Y'all take care. Remember, no excuses, only results. Have a good rest of the night.